The early 2000s were a great time. A great time for music, a great time for movies, and a fantastic era for action cartoons. 2003 had two shows based on young crime fighters from comic books. One of them was Teen Titans and the other one was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Unlike the 80s TMNT series, the 2003 series had a slightly more darker, serious tone. Despite all that though, it was still enjoyable and felt like a perfect fusion of the comics and 80s series. The good thing about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is that it's a franchise that has gone through many iterations in comics, TV, film, and video games. Speaking of video games, on Neurotics I played Shredder's Revenge. Go check that video out, it's linked in the description. The Heroes in a Half Shell have a new animated iteration with a new film called Mutant Mayhem out and an eventual spin-off series to go along with it. Not only that, but we're getting a video game adaptation of a more mature Ninja Turtles story, The Last Ronin, from THQ Nordic. So because of all that news, I figured I'd take a trip down memory lane and rewatch Turtles Forever, the last piece of 2003 Turtles media. Oh yeah, Geek forgot to review that film. I should tell him. He forgot to review Batman vs. TMNT 2. Maybe we could do a crossover review together. Oh, hey Geek.
Yo.
I saw your Ninja Turtles video, great video, but I was looking in the comments, people were saying you missed Turtles Forever, and I'm reviewing that. You also missed the Batman TMNT movie. Anyway, you want to review Turtles Forever?
I'm gonna go hang myself.
I guess he's not reviewing it. Fine. I'll do it myself.
I'm ready. You know my style, me and Proud Duke make them say wow.
Turtles Forever is a very important film in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle franchise as it features the 2003 Turtles and the 80s Turtles. I totally get why people were bothered by the fact my buddy Geek forgot about it. Turtles Forever was made in honor of the 25th anniversary of the Ninja Turtles. It also came out November 21st of 2009, 1 month after Nickelodeon purchased the franchise from co-creator Peter Laird for $60 million, making it the last pre-Nickelodeon TMNT project. This film was produced by 4Kids, a studio that did some infamous localized dubs of anime, but they also provided a recording space for the voice acting in the 2003 TMNT series. I remember the 03 series very fondly, and Turtles Forever serves very well as a series finale. While there are some downsides like the original's 80s cast not returning due to 4Kids being non-union, which is an honest shame, I still find the special very enjoyable. It honestly sucks that we could have potentially gotten a reunion with the full TMNT 80s cast had another company provided dubbing. This could have been an opportunity for James Avery to voice Shredder one last time prior to his death, since he passed away in 2013 before the CGI TMNT series was able to do a crossover with the 1987 show's voice actors. While researching, I was shocked to learn that Shredder's voice changed as the 80s show progressed, with James being the VA only for the first 7 seasons. His contract expired and he was busy with Fresh Prince at the time.
I think our contract just ran out. I didn't leave the show necessarily.
Oh, because I was wondering why you left the show. 1993 was when the voice changed over to a new guy. It was like halfway through the season. And I was wondering why, if you left the show to do Fresh Prince more, or...
Well, I was working on Fresh Prince then, and it became increasingly difficult to get in.
I was just wondering if you might have gotten tired of the show and wanted to change or something.
Hey, Neil, I'm an actor. I do not get tired of work.
But yeah, I just had to address this before I go into reviewing the movie. Rather than bring back the OG voices, they went for sound-alikes who all do a decent job. Still, it's sad it's not the original 1987 cast. It's the only problem I honestly have with this film. Anyway, now we'll talk about Turtles Forever. Turtles Forever has a great start with Splinter upset at the 03 Turtles for being out in public. They discover in a blurry photograph of these unidentified turtles that they were fighting the purple dragons. After that, the 80s Turtles interact with Hun, the leader of the Purple Dragons, who notices right away that they are different turtles from the ones he's fought, and he's under the belief they know the Shredder of his universe. They mention they have mutagen from him, which Hun takes an interest in after seeing what it can do when it turns a fly into a monster. The 03 Turtles, however, show up to confront the 80s Turtles. Michelangelo takes a quick liking to them, noting that they have initials on their belt buckles like superheroes. Han eventually gets defeated by the 03 Turtles, and the 80s Turtles get back most of the mutagen. What I really love about this movie is how it depicts the differences between the 03 and 80s Turtles. The 03 Turtles stay in the shadows away from people in the daylight, while the 80s counterparts walk to a pizza place unfazed by the humans there. In the 80s Turtles' universe, they would initially walk around in disguises and eventually become accepted as a normal thing in their New York in the series later on. However, in the 03 series, these turtles were not as out in the open, with the general public not knowing them. The 80s Turtles scare the people in the pizzeria, which they are completely oblivious to. 03 Splinter then ends up capturing them. The 03 Turtles then confront the 80s Turtles, and they reveal that they inadvertently sent the Technodrome to their universe after attempting to defeat their version of the Shredder once and for all. Both sets of turtles eventually find the Technodrome, and Shredder summons some Foot Clan soldiers, along with Bebop and Rocksteady. The turtles end up defeating all the robotic Foot Clan soldiers, which disturbs 80s Shredder, leading to him searching for the Shredder of the 03 universe. In 03, and Utrom, an alien race that Krang was based on, is the Shredder of this universe. His name is Shrell, and he went under the human identity of Oroku Saki in that universe. 80s Shredder expects to get along with this different version of himself, but Shrell can't stand the fact that the 80s version of him is very incompetent. Shredder and Krang subdue him temporarily. However, Utrom Shredder takes over the Technodrome after Karai saves him and seizes Krang's vehicle under the authority of the Foot Clan. I definitely like how this film subverts expectations. With this being a multiverse story, you'd think Utrom Shredder would team up with the 80s version, but instead he doesn't. He rather views himself as the one true Shredder, which is very interesting given the fact that the 80s counterpart and the comics counterpart existed before him. Anyway, the two pairs of turtles' search for the Technodrome is cut short once Hun and the Purple Dragons ambush them, along with a wolf monster, who is a Purple Dragon member who mutated off-screen. The wolf being the guy who got hit by the mutagen early in the film. Hun eventually follows the turtles into the sewers with hopes of getting the mutagen, but it ends up burning his hand. Soon enough, he becomes a turtle and reunites with 2003 Shredder. The Utrom Shredder has stepped up compared to the 80s counterpart with Karai's help, with him now having more lethal Foot Clan robots and a mutant army. The 80s Shredder and Krang, meanwhile, are treated as jokes. One interesting thing I like about the film is how Raphael is annoyed by the turtles for the first half of it. He calls the four 1987 heroes in a half shell four Mikeys due to their goofy nature earlier in the film. He continues to have a pessimistic attitude until Splinter calls him out, saying that all versions of them are valid. Both Donatellos then build a dimensional travel device together in an effort to get anti-Technodrome equipment from the home dimension of the 80s Turtles. The 03 Turtles' base then gets attacked by the mutated turtle Hun, along with Utrom Shredder's more powerful robot soldiers. I really like how large in scale the threats are in this movie. While the 03 Turtles' home gets destroyed, they quickly transport to the 1987 series dimension. The 03 Turtles realize that Utrom Shredder is back since Hun mentions the one true Shredder is after them. The 80s Turtles at first don't take things seriously until Michelangelo tells them to. In the 80s dimension, the Turtles plan to get their anti-technodrome gear, but first save this dimension's April O'Neil from goofy villains from the classic series. The funniest thing about this scene is the 03 Turtles are confused why their April wears a yellow jumpsuit, but later in the film, April O'Neil is wearing a yellow tracksuit, so I find that scene kind of odd. Eventually, they all meet the Splinter of that dimension. 80s Splinter tells 03 Leonardo and Raphael that they are welcome in his dimension. They remember their Splinter said the same about the other set of turtles. Both interactions in this film I really love, since the clear message of the film is that both incarnations are valid. I really like how both Splinters deliver that message. Sadly, 03 Splinter gets captured by Hun and brought to Utrom Shredder. He's upset since he wants the turtles. Still, he becomes less mad at Hun after being told that he's the perfect bait for them. The Technodrome rises out into the city while Casey Jones and April are going on a stroll. The 03 Turtles see the 80 Turtles' anti-Technodrome gear and are upset it's a lot more goofy and not what they expected. They then see the Technodrome got major Utrom upgrades and that it's a bigger threat than the 80s Turtles expected. After seeing that, the 80s Turtles decide to bring their party wagon and turtle blimp into battle. But before the Turtles show up, it was interesting seeing Casey Jones and April attempt to take on the army of mutants and robots on their own. They are pretty competent at fighting them off, but realize they need the turtles. Thankfully, both sets of turtles show up. The turtles in their vehicles fight against various mutants, two of which resemble Razor and Toka from the second live-action TMNT movie, Secret of the Ooze. Anyway, 80s Shredder and Krang tell Utrom Shredder to kill the turtles, but rather than do that, he restrains them. Bebop and Rocksteady turning on 80s Shredder and Krang was honestly a really interesting detail with them, now working alongside Utrom Shredder. The turtles walk into the Technodrome and seemingly can handle a fight with Shredder, but it was all a trap. Utrom Shredder has a plan on finding the source of the turtles in the multiverse. During his monologue, various incarnations of the turtles show up on screen, including the 2007 Emoji Turtles. Utrom Shredder seemingly destroys the 8 turtles and the Technodrome disappears. Soon enough, though, they fall out of the sky after 03 Casey Jones mourns their disappearance. 03 Casey and April are surprised to see the 80s Turtles, but 03 Raphael points out that there is no time to talk to them since Shredder wants to snuff out all the dimensional turtle life. 80s Leonardo then relays that message.
Again?
If we don't stop it, it could spell the end of Ninja Turtles everywhere. Forever.
Oh, that's why they call it that.
I really love the high stakes of Turtles Forever. The dimension of the 03 Turtles is in jeopardy due to the Utrom Shredder's meddling with the multiverse. I find it especially interesting how Hun gives up his equipment to the Turtles once he realizes he's in danger. The detail I love most about the erasure of the universe is how the characters become pencil sketches as they get erased. This happens to Hun, April, and Casey Jones. What a dark and ambiguous way to end the special with the 1987 and 2003 Turtles ceasing to exist. Just kidding, they end up being fine. I just needed room for an ad break. This video is sponsored by me, Shadex. I want to make quality and consistent content, and to do that, I'd appreciate a bit of your help. To make this channel look nice, I want to hire artists for thumbnails and channel-related assets. I also want to hire editors for some help with videos, depending how long they get or if I am really busy. You're chilling your Ko-Fi? Sell out! Why are you e-begging? Here's the thing though, it's all optional. There will be some benefits if you donate, like your name at the end of videos, a role in my Discord, and access to work in progresses of my videos, and ad-free early uploads. You can donate once if you'd like, whenever you feel like it, or monthly, which you don't need to do, but I'd appreciate it either way. All donators get to see early content once you get the Discord role. But by donating a little bit, you'd be a big help to the channel. 03 and 80s Turtles managed to avoid erasure by transporting themselves to the dimension of the Mirage Comics Turtles. I find it really funny that Raphael wants to retire there since he's the toughest of all the 03 turtles. The Mirage Turtles, the Prime Turtles in this film, do not get along with the 80s and 03 Turtles at first. I really like how Leonardo narrates as he fights the two sets of turtles, which is a great satire of the grittiness of the original comics. The Prime Turtles eventually team up with the 80s and 03 Turtles. The Mirage Turtles act as bait to Shredder, and the 80s and 03 incarnations show up to fight him. Utrom Shredder is shocked to see that the Turtles are still alive, and it turns out Karai saved them. Alongside her is 80s Shredder, Krang, and Splinter. Karai makes it clear that killing the Turtles will destroy the multiverse, but Utrom Shredder does not care. One of the Mirage Turtles kicks him, but Utrom Shredder grows larger due to technology from the Technodrome. We get a tease of Krang growing large with his robot suit, but Utrom Shredder defeats him real quick. The most interesting thing about this film is that Karai warns Utrom Shredder that everyone, including him, will cease to exist if he kills the Turtles Prime. You would expect he'd have a change of heart. However, he attempts to squeeze them to death in an effort to end the Turtles once and for all. Utrom Shredder is the ultimate hater. He'd rather cease to exist if it means the end of the Turtles. The other Turtles are defenseless against him until Bebop and Rocksteady shoot him with the Technodrome when he isn't looking with a laser. And just like previous film adaptations, this version of Shredder dies like a bitch. The Turtles say their goodbyes, and the end of the film has a nice fourth wall break where the creators Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird have a spoken cameo, revealing that that comic book they were in was issue 1, which they just finished illustrating and writing. Overall, Turtles Forever is a very fun movie. It's a great celebration of the history of the Heroes in a Half Shell. It's not perfect, like I said. The original cast from the 1987 series did not return, but thankfully they reprised their roles for the 2012 series. Sadly, James Avery passed away before then, so Kevin Michael Richardson voiced his version of the Shredder. They definitely would have gotten James back for the CGI series had he been alive when the crossover episode happened. Given how passionate he was in that old YouTube interview about his role of Shredder, it's a shame he never got to voice him again. While I am glad the 1987 VAs like Rob Paulson, who was already Donatello in the CGI series, got to play Raphael again alongside his co-stars, it's a shame it was not a complete reunion. I am aware of the 1987 crossover episodes with the 2012 series, but I have not seen them at least in full. It'd honestly be fun to cover them in the near future. Despite the drawback of no 1987 series voice actors returning, Turtles Forever is still an enjoyable movie. It was the perfect way to close the 03 Turtles' story. Turtles Forever to me was one of the first big crossover events I saw as a kid. I remember watching it on Nickelodeon when I was younger. Crossovers between legacy characters in the form of specials are something I really love as a fan of long-running media. Stuff like Dave the Doctor was made to honor Doctor Who's 50th anniversary, and I really loved it. As far as recent stuff goes, Spider-Man No Way Home is another great example. I really love when a piece of media looks back on old and new incarnations, and Turtles Forever was the first one I remember watching since it preceded those two crossovers. It was really fun revisiting this movie, especially since then TMNT has several other incarnations under Nickelodeon. Back then, TMNT just had numerous comic runs, 3 live-action movies. Actually, scratch that, only 2. There's only 2 movies. And TMNT 2007. That was pretty much it as far as the Turtle Multiverse was back then. Oh yeah, and there was a live-action show by Saban. Actually, never mind, there wasn't. I am glad that TMNT has grown as a property since then. Turtles Forever commemorated 25 years of Turtles in a great way. I really hope we get another anniversary special like this again someday. This has been Shade X, and I hope you all feel nothing but good vibes.
It's Turtles? I don't know how this came to be, but soon there will be none.
Nice to meet you, now I'm here to beat you with full force. Mess up your facial features. Hasta la vista, I'm selling all y'all little Caesars. All y'all stuff your face with is pizza crack.
What fools are these? So weary of life. Wow, that They take the name of the Shredder.
I crossed the line like a letter. Smash all of you turtles, put you back together. Indeed, I squish turtles like a tight girdle.
It works. The trans-dimensional portal is receiving the coordinates now. Farewell, Turtle.
Move strike with mad vengeance. Axe Splinter, he know I'm coming with bad intentions.
We could spell the end of Ninja Turtles everywhere. Forever.
We came to lose. 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 We came to lose.
We're too cool to go. And power up. It's not working.
I think it's time to call a war. Still face foot playing villains and more. With heroes in a half shell going to war. Got the city under siege and they holding the fort. Got extra large pizza boxes all on the floor.
We're trying to save you from that. From the Shredder.
Thought. Individual starving the floor. So the samurai swords on point for the cause. Dangerous metals highlight the reign of terror. The twilight meets the reign of Shredder.
Whatever it is you have done to destroy them, you do
dark
it
clouds in the strangest weather. Breaking news, the front line straight ooze no sunshine. Only dangerous rules. We fly with nunchucks that'll tame the crews and lace the enemies. We ain't came to lose. We ain't came to lose. We ain't came to lose. We ain't came to lose.
Having to spend each day's art color believe. It's not that easy.
Exactly. I mean, actually, no, The Rock. Actually, I don't think The Rock is typecast. I think he just chooses to be typecast.
Yo, my man's just The Rock in any movie.
He seeks them out. He doesn't cast.